What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sarlacc Digest Podcast presents Moocher Mondays with your host, Darth Moocher. This is a ongoing series that I'm going to do either solo or I'll bring somebody in from outside, either in the podcast or outside the podcast, to talk about how Star Wars is life. What does it mean when we say Star Wars is life, right? So there's Star Wars and there's everything else, and we want to break that down. We don't. This is not a podcast to talk about the movies, or I'm sorry, this is not a series to talk about the canon, the movies, upcoming events. This is talk about how we live our daily lives surrounded by Star Wars. Okay, and it could be from cosplay, could be from 3D printing, it could be from collecting, it could be from visiting Batu in full Disney bound garb. It's going to be an exciting journey to hear about a lot of other people and how they basically have Star Wars playing 24/7 in their head and how that comes about their daily lives, how they interact with other Star Wars fans, people around them, their families, friends. What do they do to celebrate Star Wars on a daily basis? Let alone the milestones, the May 4th events, the celebrations, the Comic Cons, which we'll get into that here in a second. You know, I always love to hear other people's stories and how Star Wars brought things together. It could be through marriages, friendships, you know, businesses, clubs, and everything else. Cosplay is it's huge thing that people get together and they make lifelong friends. To do, and they learn to trade and have fun with it, and they go out to Comic Cons and all that stuff. And that is a perfect example of, like, how life is imitating Star Wars. You know, um, it's so fun to me personally, to walk into a room and I can have four friends there and I could shout out, you know, Bib Fortuna, right? Those four friends will turn, and in their minds, immediately we're there. It's like they could have been talking about, you know, NASCAR or whatever it is that my friends talk about. I'm kidding. They don't. None of them talk about NASCAR, I hope. But anyway, if they do, it's cool. But they can immediately shut whatever they're doing off and go right into what about them? Like, the timeline in their head, just it's an ongoing thing. It's like immediately like a CD dropped into their head, and like everything Bit Fortuna did is right there. It's uploaded, ready to talk. Like, do you have some news about him? What's going on? Is there an independent show about him or whatever? And that's that's my experience, and I love that. I love that, the fact that I surround myself with those kind of people, with from the podcast to everybody we met through the podcast too. We all share that same community, that same hive mind, that Star Wars hive mind, which is awesome. Um, to have a virtual timeline playing in your head, that to where when you do get a piece of information, whether it's a comic book, a novel, a movie, a Disney Plus series, a toy, and you read the little verbiage on the back and you get some new information, it sends a ripple through that timeline in your head, right? That virtual timeline. And it's like, oh, wow, that impacted so much. And now everything changed. Collectively, it all changes within our Star Wars hive. you know, Sometimes we have to talk about it and work out the parameters of what that new information is. Hence the podcast. That's what we do. And in fact, we do that even when we get together, even passing each other in supermarkets. We will, did you hear about this? Boom, timeline ripples. We talk about it, we bring it up, we go, and now that's our talk. That's our talk. Every time we bring up, again, I'm using Bib Fortuna as an example, but every time we talk about them, that new information is added to the collective, right? I don't think, besides Marvel, okay, and maybe, no, I don't want to say anything DC related, but besides Marvel, I don't think that happens anywhere else. I mean, it's happening now with the Lord of the Rings series going on, because there's things that affect everything, but not on the Star Wars level. Star Wars is going on 40 plus years, and we've been doing this since we were kids, teenagers, adults, into our extracurricular activities and into our life, right? How we live Star Wars, right? Living Star Wars is the key for us. Yes, we're moviegoers, but we don't walk out of a Star Wars film saying that was cool. That's the last thing we say. It's like when we rate something, it's kind of like the last thing we do. Yeah, that was cool. I hope it makes $1 billion, sales, and I hope it continues on the top charts. And we don't really care about that stuff. We care about what information we just got, and then how that ripples across the entire Star Wars community. And now we have something to share and talk about and dissect, and for our lifetime. This is something, again, a phenomenal life, phenomenal thing, a generational thing that we're living here now. In our little geek world, this is what we do. To get away from stepping outside and worrying about everything else that's going outside. This is our escape, and it's something that I don't think, I dare to say, I don't think mankind will have this again in any kind of, you know, uh, pop culture, if you will. I'm using that modern term, but you know, I think that this is something that's life lessons that people have gotten married from it. People met up and, like I said, make clubs and podcasts and everything else because of Star Wars. And this is what I mean by um, we live Star Wars. To say that, it means so much more than George Lucas writing a story, and I think he knew that too. Well, he knows now, right? Like, he knows now what he caused, and we're grateful for it because we're carrying it on. And another problem with the community being out there, where you get a new piece of information, that ripple that goes across the fandom, is the divisiveness of Star Wars fans. And like I said, I tend to, people, when they get that toxic, when they get real toxic, and they're threatening actors, and they're just being just horrible human beings, I don't really consider them fans. So when people say, Star Wars fans are awful, I'm like, I don't know. I think the wording has to be changed, because once they go across that line, they are no longer Star Wars fans. Because, well, as fans, we take that information, good and bad, or whatever it was that presented it to us, when we plug it in our timeline and let everything else work itself out by talking about it, and uh, you know whatever, podcasting, you name it. Those fans that take it to that extreme level, where it's like, not my Star Wars, everything is horrible, then I mean, it's like, well, then you're a movie lover, right? Because then you love the original trilogy, and you loved it enough to buy toys and live it. But at that point, it stopped, and Star Wars as a whole ceased to exist for you. Um and I'm not saying that you don't have to like everything, because trust me, I do not like some of the stuff that's come out on the sequel stuff, but I will never disregard it as, okay, I drew a line, I'm taking my Star Wars, I'm going home with it. This is it, and then you guys carry on, because that's when, like, as a whole, when you say I live this stuff, that ceases to exist right then and there. And now you are a moviegoer that loves Star Wars. I love those movies, and I stop talking about it. People fall out of love with it. For Star Wars fan, like the our community, the ones that we've seen and built and met up and coexist with, we continue this awesome community that moves forward. When we went to Celebration, this past one in Anaheim, or even out the other celebrations, like Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar, would come on stage, and you have people cheering, standing ovation, crying that Ahmed Best came on stage, right? And it's like, oh, wait a second. I thought he was hated. I thought he got all these death threats and everything. And yeah, he did. And he was hated, but not by the fans. And the fans really accepted him and loved every aspect of it. Jar Jar is not a great character in our Star Wars universe, just because um it's almost like, if we have to defend it, if we have to defend a character to somebody, then it's kind of like, we cringe, right? It's like, I don't want to defend Jar Jar being somebody, but we love everything about him. We'll buy the toys. He's there, he exists. Okay, we can't erase it. And I think for the most part, it's, if we have to sit there and defend Star Wars to other people, then that's when we get jaded on certain things. And I don't want to do that. I never want to defend Star Wars. I just want to consume it, talk about it, dissect it, ripple that timeline in your head, and just go for it. So, like, I guess my message to people that split the fandom and call out actors for whatever reason, because they're just doing their job, which is the dumbest thing in in the world. Making it about race, which was like the dumbest thing in the world again. Attack somebody personally for fiction is outrageous to me. But go to a celebration, and you will see Star Wars fans come together like like never before. You will see the love in the area. I mean, everybody is so excited. It's electrifying everything. Um, so that's like my little soapbox with the fandom being split and everything. But for the most important thing was, this is how we when we go about our business. When you see us walking down the street, trust me, Star Wars is playing in our heads. We are thinking about everything Star Wars. Of course, yeah, we got our bills to pay. We know other things in life, but for the most part, we're consumed with the story moving forward, um, and it's mostly because what we've seen, like for example, like Andor, like that sent a ripple through the timeline and all the hive mind collectiveness and everything, and it's awesome. It's awesome because who wants to dwell on everyday life all the time? It's just it's exhausting, you know. Um, we're thankful that we live in this time that we have Star Wars, and the community that's built around it. Okay. Again, the community that we all built around it is a positive community. Constructively critical at times. Hell yeah, we are. We'll yell at each other, but this at the end of the day, when we go home, it's like, all right, well, that what we saw happen. But we're just arguing the fact. Midichlorians is a perfect example. There's some of us that don't accept, not don't accept it, hate the fact that the Force became a physical entity versus a mystique about it. But when we do talk about it, we do talk about midichlorians as being a thing, and we do put that in our theory crafting talk. Okay, trust me, we do. We don't sit there and go, nope, that's not what we're gonna do. No, we're just gonna cut it off here, and that never existed. Some of us would like to do that, but it's just not possible to talk Star Wars and cut and paste what like choose your own adventure Star Wars. Um, it just doesn't happen. Not in the collectiveness. You could do that personally, nobody, no judging. But again, you know, your part in Star Wars community, it's kind of watered down in that way because we're not writing this stuff. There are creative entities out there that are doing this. Anyway, soapbox off. Um, that's a discussion for like a whole other thing. I'd wanted to come on here and talk about how I live Star Wars and get people on here that how they live Star Wars beyond watching and dissecting movies. It's like how you run, maybe how you present yourself in everyday life too, about Star Wars and what you do. And I think the most important part is the people you meet along the way, the journey, uh, you know, the, the adventure is the most important thing. And I will close with, you know, when we see Luke Skywalker staring at the twin suns, okay, longing for adventure, being stuck on Tatooine for another season, right? Uncles, I'm not, you're not going, I need you here. That's all of us right now. That's everybody on Earth right now. Kind of felt stuck in whatever uh, life of creation that you've created for yourself. I don't know if that sentence made any sense, but anyway, we're all stuck, and Luke Skywalker was forced to change because he didn't just run off on an adventure. He was forced to change. And a lot of us need that push off the edge to change something better for our lives, right? Um, Me personally, I was stuck at a dead end job that I hated. I couldn't stand. I hated traveling. I was going to get myself killed on these California highways one day, but I wasn't doing anything about it to change that situation, right? I wasn't doing anything fun, adventurous in a monetization way until I was forced to, until I was laid off, and I was like, okay, I have to wake up tomorrow and change my life. This is it. Now I'm Luke Skywalker on that adventure. I got pushed off that edge to forcibly change my life in the way that I want to. And it sucks sometimes that every one of us has to have that push. I applaud the people who wake up and decide I'm changing things and it's working for them, or they took a shot. You got to take a shot in life. But I relate to that moment in Star Wars history. It's a funny thing to say, but not to us because again, hive mind, we all think alike. But in Star Wars history, that moment that we all are staring off into the twin suns, that's the heartfelt moment for each and one of us uh, to carry on and make something fun with our lives. I think fun and adventurous is the most important thing than striking it rich or whatever. Again, just have fun. I don't know if Luke Skywalker had fun doing what he did. I think it was a lot of dangerous stuff, but anyway, just using that analogy because again, Star Wars is life and imitating Star Wars daily basis. These are things that we as a collective think about 24/7. Just throwing that out there. But anyway, so I'll close with that. I hope this is something that people are interested in. Rather than breaking down the Star Wars stuff, that we will do that. That's a continuous thing. We'll break down every um, subject and book and novel and everything Star Wars. It has a Star Wars title. We're going to talk about and break it down and add to that virtual timeline in our brains and send those ripples out and talk about it and all that stuff. But the other side of it, the reality side of things that I would love to hear from other people, you know, um, we'll see. I like cosplayers are very interested. I'm interested in that and how they, dedicate that much time and energy and materials to do something and the mentality behind it. Are they doing it for themselves or doing it to be a part of it? Is it something that, is it just to make kids happy? When they see, when they see Boba Fett walking the street, I'm kind of interested in the life aspect of Star Wars and how we live it. And not everybody has a physical manifestation of how we live it, but it's again just thinking about it. And if I can yell out Bib Fortuna to you guys, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, and we can all go there, that's living Star Wars. So you're already there. This other stuff, this material stuff, that can all go away tomorrow, and that's fine because that's we carry Star Wars with us wherever we go. So with that, I'm done, and I will be here hopefully next Monday with another Moochers Monday. With again, I'm going to try to reach out to some people, and we'll see what kind of talk we can get into. So very shorter segments. Our longer segments are on Wednesdays live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific time when we break down everything aspect of Star Wars when it comes to the novelizations and the movies and the Disney Plus. We do again, if you haven't subscribed to our podcast, please subscribe and get all your news and rumors and theories and line talk weekly with all of us and at the podcast. And Chris, who is another host of the Sarlacc Digest podcast, he also does a Hoth topic, which takes a specific item, character, event, story, and deep dives a subject. So if you're interested in like Grand Admiral Thrawn and his origins, Hot Topic on Fridays, you will see that on this channel also. So again, we're trying to bring up more content for everybody and get everybody involved. Hit that like button if you haven't so. Subscribe if you haven't so. And from that, I think we are done. I will see you guys on Wednesday live in our pit, breaking everything down Star Wars. So Darth Moocher signing out. May the Force be with you.